I've had a bit of a fiasco over the years trying to find a bomber jacket that I liked. I think they're so timeless and perfect for transitional weather between winter and spring and then autumn back to winter. But me being fussy like I am, I've always wanted something that's well made, built to last, and most importantly, authentic to the original design. I tried cheaper army surplus ones, expensive designer ones, and everything in between. I even joined a few auctions to bid on authentic Vietnam era jackets, but the price always went a bit high for me, especially given the condition of them, which didn't make them very wearable. Then finally, I stumbled upon something which ticked all the boxes, and that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. So here it is, the Buzz Ricksons MA-1, and I'm going to deep dive into this, going into gritty details, so join me for a geek out. Buzz Ricksons are a Japanese brand owned by Toyo Enterprises, and their main focus since 1993 has been to make stitch-for-stitch reproductions of iconic military pieces. Everything is manufactured in Japan to the highest quality and precision, from custom-made fabrics using costly, slow-moving vintage looms. Essentially, if you want authenticity and can't get hold of the real thing, then this is as good as it gets. Also, side note, I can tell I've been watching too much Jiu-Jitsu and UFC because I really want to pronounce it Buzz Ricksons. Back to my jacket though, this is the MA-1 intermediate flight jacket, or a bomber jacket as most of us would call it these days. Now there's actually a few different versions of these, but you'd probably have to be a complete nerd like me to notice or even care about the differences. This particular one is a reproduction of the Line Uniform Co jacket that was manufactured for the United States Air Force in 1957, I believe. Buzz Ricksons also make an Albert Turner Co version, with the main difference being the kind of zippers and pull tabs used. This one has these reproduction chunky crown zippers with a heavy-duty herringbone twill pull tab on the main body and leather pull on the sleeve. I'm guessing the Line Uniform Co tab would have been preferable to pilots due to the ease of zipping the jacket with that large pull tab whilst wearing gloves. There's a few other manufacturers who are contracted to supply the US Air Force with MA-1 jackets over the years, with Alpha Industries probably being one of the most well known. And at first I was tempted to go and buy one of theirs because they're readily available and fairly well priced. However, as I started to do my research, I became more and more put off by them. Unfortunately, their production quality over the years seems to have taken a massive dip. I've heard countless reviews from people saying that the quality is nothing like it used to be, which is a massive shame. But the main thing that stood out to me about them was the fit of their jackets looks completely off to me. They've obviously taken a very mainstream fashion route, and they're making slim fit, longer length versions, which are nothing like the original. Which brings me on to this Buzz Ricksons one, why I love it so much, and the reason why I wanted something as authentic as possible. The fit is very short, which is true to the original design. This was of course purely for practical reasons at the time, however it turns out that it actually looks really good with civilian outfits, at least in my opinion. I'm a sucker for shorter length tops, they just fit my body type and personal style better. I think it looks fantastic paired with some higher waisted pants, like these Mersby chinos or Uniqlo selvage jeans that I have on here. By the way, I'm 5'10", around 140 pounds, and I picked this up in a size medium. The dimensions are roughly 60 centimeters or 23 inches pit to pit, and 60 centimeters or 23 inches shoulder to hem. So almost a perfect square given that lovely boxy shape. Another thing I need to talk about which caught me completely off guard is the sheer weight of this jacket. It's not something I've ever associated with bomber jackets because these days they're very much marketed as lightweight pieces, almost like summer jackets. But this one, true to the original design, is thick and warm, with an inner layer of genuine wool fibre. This is then sandwiched between two layers of heavyweight nylon. I think I once said that there can't be much difference between the quality of different nylons. Well, this jacket has shown me how wrong I was. It's sturdy and robust and not like any other nylon piece I've ever owned. The colour of this nylon is very particular as well, almost a grey/sage green, and it's been meticulously reproduced by Buzz Ricksons to match the original. In addition to this, the hem, cuffs and collar are all 100% wool as well. So much nicer and warmer than cheaper reproductions that use polyester. Yes, this jacket was made to be lighter weight, but it's still a flying jacket at the end of the day. And in the 50s, they would have needed warm and weather resistant pieces while they were in the air. There's a total of 5 pockets, one on the sleeve, which you'll see on all MA-1 reproductions. It's not particularly useful unless you carry around a packet of cigarettes and pencils, but they even included the anti-puncture pencil caps made of US Air Force specification brass. Absolutely wild. There's 2 exterior pockets that are fairly large and have a warm and comfortable wool rayon fabric lining, then 2 interior pockets that are also pretty large and have a heavyweight cotton twill fabric lining. Some of you might be wondering why the lining is green and not orange like we see with a lot of MA-1 jackets. It's my understanding that the orange lining didn't appear until later in the Vietnam War, around the 60s or 70s. It was introduced so that lost or downed pilots could turn their jacket inside out and it would act like a high visibility jacket, making them easier to spot. I've heard from a few sources that the production quality of those later jackets aren't quite as nice as these 50s ones, but I can't know for sure. Other details include the oxygen mask retainer clip left of the front zipper, 2 snap-down tabs for retaining headset and microphone wiring leads, and of course the US Air Force insignia transfer on the left sleeve. It's crazy to think that all these details went into a mass-produced military piece that was made to probably get ruined or even disposed of. Today, these kinds of details would be seen as luxury and only found on the most expensive pieces. And that brings me on to the price of this jacket, and as you'd expect, it's not cheap to reproduce something to this standard. If you want to get it new, it's $500 to $600. However, you can get it much cheaper if you're willing to go secondhand. The used market for these jackets in Japan is really strong. I ordered mine from a Japanese seller on eBay and managed to get it for about £150. That includes delivery and import fees, which are all calculated at checkout on eBay, so there's no nasty surprises when it finally arrives at your doorstep. And not only do you get an incredible saving doing it this way, but getting this jacket with a bit of age suits it so much more. Mine has some sun fading and a little bit of distressing, and it just makes it look even more authentic in my opinion. I'd much prefer it like this than a bright and shiny new one, and that's the truth. So I can fully appreciate this jacket is definitely not going to be for everyone. 90% of people are going to be happier with a much cheaper version, and to be honest, they're probably going to look mostly the same. This kind of jacket is for people who enjoy smaller details or noticeable improvements in quality. This is probably the last bomber jacket I'll ever buy, and as my rotation is getting smaller and smaller, I wanted to make sure I bought the best that I could afford. Is it worth the full price as new? Well, I can see why they charge that much, but to be honest, probably not for me. However, £150 secondhand, 100% worth it, and I am absolutely delighted. But anyway, that's all I've got to talk about today. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.